P2B demands public apology, 5 billion naira in damages from Tinubu's aide Onanuga over protest allegations, threatens a lawsuit. Hello viewers and welcome to InfoGist TV. In a statement on his verified X handle, formerly known as Twitter handle, Onanuga on Saturday accused Obi's supporters of sponsoring the planned nationwide protest against Tinubu's administration, adding that the former Anambra governor would be held responsible for any liabilities that arise from the public demonstrations in August. A former Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi, has threatened to initiate a lawsuit against the Special Advisor to the President on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, for saying he is behind the planned protests in Nigeria. In a statement on his verified X handle, formerly known as Twitter handle, Onanuga on Saturday accused Obi supporters of sponsoring the planned nationwide protest against Tinubu's administration, adding that the former Anambra governor would be held responsible for any liabilities that arise from the public demonstrations in August. But in a swift reaction, the Labour Party, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Obiora Ifor, said there was no truth in Onanuga's allegation, describing it as a figment of his imagination. Obi, in a later address to Onanuga via his lawyer, Chief Alex Ejiseme, SAN, described the presidential aide's comment as defamatory to the reputations and personality of Mr. Peter Obi. The lawyer therefore demands the sum of 5 billion naira in damages and ordered Onanuga to retract his statement via various national dailies in the country. The letter also mandated the presidential aide to tender an unreserved apology within 72 hours of the receipt of the letter. The letter reads, "The central theme of your referenced statement from an unbiased and objective examination thereof is that our client is an anarchist who, whilst working in consonance with terrorist groups, has championed the mobilization of several nationwide protests in a bitter and undemocratic bid to usurp the federal government, possibly as restitution for failure at the 2023 presidential elections. Our client denies the entirety of the falsehood contained in the said publications and insists that there is no modicum of truth in the allegations preferred against him. In your published statements that has since gone viral on the internet and its various social media platforms, the said statements are in every sense malicious and convey with them the potentiality of an ostracization of our client by well-meaning citizens of Nigeria. It should be stated without any form of equivocation that our client is an elder statesman, a diplomat, and an unwavering Democrat. He has always tailored his affairs according to the dictates of the Nigerian law. Where there has been any dissatisfactions with any process or procedure, our client's first and only resort has been to invoke the appropriate legal mechanisms to ventilate his grievances. As a matter of fact, our client has severally urged his teeming supporters to abide by the rule of law and to abstain from any actions which could result in the breakdown of law and order in the country. He refrains from associating himself with protests and has constantly persuaded Nigerians to persevere. Our client has expressed dissatisfaction with certain policies and has voiced same out through constructive criticisms without malice or resentment. It is our client's conviction that the publication was a calculated plot to demean, ridicule, humiliate and embarrass him by the estimation of every right-thinking member of the society. It appears you have achieved your incipient motive, as well as well-wishers from all around the globe have inundated him with calls to register their shock. His appellations as Okute, the Rock, notwithstanding the demeaning and scandalous publications, has also caused a serious emotional injury to our clients given his dictates of stellar stewardship in private and public life. Consequently, we have our client's mandate to demand that you retract the statement made in the publication and tender an unreserved apology to him within 72 hours of the receipt of this letter in not less than 4 national dailies, to wit, the Vanguard, This Day, Punch, and The Cable, including your verified X handle, formerly known as Twitter handle, at Onanuga1956. Our client also is making an unequivocal demand for monetary damage of 5 billion naira only for the embarrassment your defamatory publication has caused him and his family. Take notice that in the event of your failure to meet the demands set out above, our client shall be constrained to approach a court of competent jurisdictions and take legal action against you for defamation and libel. Be advised accordingly. The letter added. Meanwhile, the ruling All Progressive Congress has blasted the Labour Party candidate in the last presidential elections. This position was communicated by the party in a press statement signed by its National Publicity Secretary, Felix Moka. In a statement, the ruling party accused the former Anambra governor of showcasing his obsessive devotion of self-promotion against the best interest of Nigeria. It also accused Obi of misinforming Nigerians. It said Mr. Obi's latest statement on the country's economic situation is an admixture of half-truth, blatant distortions, and misinformations calculated to mobilize outrage against the All Progressive Congress (APC), the government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. His warped conclusion that Nigeria's economic crisis was caused by 9 years of APC-led administration is an highly revisionist, dishonest, distorted, and deliberately misleading assessment of the country's economic trajectory in the last decades. APC accused Obi of lying, that no efforts were being made by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration to tackle poverty and unemployment in the country. It said, the fact tells a far more complex and different story. The country's economic decline began under the watch of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), with the GDP growth plummeting from 7.98% in 2010 to 2.79% in 2015. And since 2015, the global oil price crash, geopolitical tension, climate change, global COVID pandemic, and rising population have taken all a toll on Nigeria's economy that is almost entirely dependent on drastically reduced oil export earnings. The growth recorded during the PDP years was due entirely to high price of crude oil and increased government spendings that it supported. It is noteworthy that between 2007 and 2014, Nigeria earned $531.2 billion under the PDP compared to $287.8 billion under APC between 2015 and 2022. The party blamed the PDP failing to develop Nigeria, saying despite the huge revenues available to it, successive PDP administrations neglected to address underlying structural challenges and distortions in the economy, leaving the country vulnerable to economic shocks and volatility. It said it had the PDP undertaking a sustained program of economic reform as President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is currently engaged. Nigeria's economic situation will be far better than it is today. But in his selfish political dispassions and desperations, Obi would never acknowledge the complexity of the accusations of our economic challenges, but would rather attempt to scapegoat the APC administration for all the country's economic ills, while turning a blind eye to the bold and thoughtful policy interventions of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. The party claimed that the country has witnessed development under Tinubu. It said, quite contrary to Obi's gloomy analysis, in the last 1 year alone, the country has attracted over $20 billion into the economy, aside recording an all-time high 6.52 trillion naira trade surplus in the first quarter of 2024, marking a positive shift from a long history of trade deficit. Despite clearing the backlog of the foreign exchange debts owed foreign airlines and other economic actors by the Central Bank of Nigeria (CBN), the nation's foreign reserves have continued to expand, hitting upwards of $34 billion, the highest in recent times. Capital inflow into the country increased by 66.27% this year alone. Mr. Obi must know that inflaming passion and mobilizing outrage through false and manipulative narratives are not legitimate tools of opposition politics, the APC said. Expecting President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to accomplish total transformation of Nigeria in 1 year, a feat he failed miserably to accomplish in 8 years as governor of Anambra State, is the height of disgraceful hypocrisy. We'll meet in court. I'm not afraid of legal action. Tinubu aide Onanuga reacts to P2B's threat. Onanuga had been accused of defamation by Obi after he accused Obi of being behind the planned protest in the country. The special advisor to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Information and Strategy, Mr. Bayo Onanuga, has said he is not taking his words back regarding allegations made against the former Labour Party presidential candidate, Mr. Peter Obi. Onanuga had accused Obi of being behind the planned protest in the country. Onanuga on Saturday accused Obi's supporters of sponsoring the planned nationwide protest against Tinubu's administration, adding that the former Anambra governor would be held responsible for any liabilities that arise from the public demonstrations in August. But a swift reaction, the Labour Party, in a statement by its National Publicity Secretary, Obiora Ifo, said there was no truth in Onanuga's allegation, describing it as a figment of his imagination. Obi, in a letter addressed to Onanuga via his lawyer, Chief Alex Ejiseme, SAN described the presidential aide's comments as defamatory to the reputation and personality of Obi. The lawyer therefore demanded a sum of 5 billion naira in damages and ordered Onanuga to retract his statement via various national dailies in the country. The letter also mandated the presidential aide to tender an unreserved apology within 72 hours of the receipt of the letter. But Onanuga later on Tuesday said he had yet to receive any letter from Obi's lawyer. He wrote on his X handle, formerly known as Twitter handle, that I am still waiting for the letter from Peter Obi's lawyer threatening a 5 billion naira suit and demanding an apology to Peter Obi over the planned revolution. Let me just tell Obi and his lawyer, I am not afraid of any legal action. We shall meet in court, he stated.